Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Hungry People podcast. It is your boy, Michael Patrick Buckley, and I'm here with my co-host, AJ Dyka. AJ, how are we doing today, my man?
Yo, MP, I'm doing really well. And I'm actually really excited about today's episode because it's something that means a lot to me. It's going to be about how I got from where I was to where I am today and a bit about pretty much my life story.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
We're going to talk about how I came from a place where I was 113 pounds at 6 foot. I was completely sick. I was in and out of the hospital on a weekly basis, multiple times a week. My girlfriend left me. I had no sex drive. I had no money. I had nothing. I shouldn't say I had nothing. I did have things, but I felt like I'd hit rock bottom and as rock bottom as I could ever get.
For sure.
And now, today, I'm working a job that is literally my dream job. I'm starting a podcast with my best friend, and I'm actually moving to a place that really supports human health. And I'm just really excited to be here with you.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited for you, AJ, and that's really cool to hear. So with your story, let's get this going. Why don't we start from the beginning?
Cool. Yeah. So what I just wanted to mention, when I was 1 year old, the reason I know I was one is because I remember having my little tuxedo on, and I only had that. We have photos of it. And I had my earliest memory was of my mom laying on the couch and she wasn't feeling good. And I thought that was kind of interesting because health has always been a big thing with me. And I thought it's interesting. My earliest memory is watching my mom not feel good. I've spent a lot of my life really not feeling well as well. So then as I grew up, I actually had an amazing childhood. I have a big family. I have grandma and grandpa, 8 aunts and uncles, 10 cousins, including me, that we all grew up together. And I had a really, really loving family. I can only speak for myself and my immediate family, but my mom and dad really made me feel loved. They really taught me a lot of things, but they also led the way. You know, they also did exactly what a parent should do.
For sure. And being at such a young age, I feel like that love is crucial. You know, imagine being so young and not being loved by an adult. And I know there are a lot of kids. I mean, you could even say when they're 12, 13, 14 years old, and they're not loved. They have no one to look up to. And that's so hard for a child. And it's really great that you had that love and that support from your parents.
Yeah, it's super important to me because it kind of set my foundation. That being said, it's not like my parents were some kind of perfect people because they have their own struggles. And,
For sure.
you know, one of the things was we grew up on McDonald's. My mom was a single mom because they split up and she took care of 3 kids and she did an amazing job. Like I could not talk higher of my mom. Like she is an amazing woman. But the thing is, I did grow up on fast food and these things. And it's interesting because my dad would kind of put into my head, like, you need to eat more fish. You need to eat more vegetables. You need to eat healthier because I was living on Reese's and pizza and
Right.
Cocoa Puffs. And I remember being about 5 years old. I was driving on Route 130. Well, my mom was driving. I was in the back seat. And I thought to myself,
oh, that's impressive.
I thought to myself, like, I want to eat this way. Even if I die young, even if I don't live a long life, you know, I'll probably still live till I'm 35. And you have a 5-year-old saying, like, I can't give these up. Like, I'll die.
Yeah.
What I didn't take into account was, I'd feel horrible, like, on the way down. Sure.
Wow.
So, like, at a very early age, you could see how much food was, like, a big impact on me. Like, I was the hungry kid. There is no one, and I mean no one, that I've ever met that eats as much as me. I've talked to one woman who claims that she does, and I do believe her, but I'm going to give you a little bit of background into how I would eat. So as a 10-year-old, maybe even younger, I would go to my Uncle Billy's house, and we would all have cereal, and I would put the whole box of cereal into the bowl, and he would be so pissed off because he's really cheap, actually. But that's the thing. Everyone else was eating like 1/10 of a box, a normal serving, you know, and I'm eating a whole box and half a gallon of milk.
Wow.
And, you know, I would go to school and I'd eat the school lunch, and then I'd come home and have dinner at my grandmom's. And then my mom would come home with a pizza and a cheesesteak for me, and I'd eat all of that.
And this is at 10 years old, you said?
So at 10 years old, I guarantee it was eating at least 4,000 to 5,000 calories.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I'll go more into how my appetite actually grew over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was eating more than anyone I knew. In fact, my record as far as being a young adult, like probably 12 or 13 years old, we went to the beach. We went to Wendy's afterwards, and I had 35 chicken nuggets.
Oh
I had 3 double cheeseburgers. I had 3 chicken burgers, and I had 3 Frosties and 3 fries.
that's insane.
Yeah. So
Like,
my mom
I just
so we went
like,
on the dollar menu, and just for me, we spent like $20, $30.
dude, that I just couldn't even imagine eating that much. Like, it doesn't even sound fun, you know?
Yeah. Well, we would go to the Friendlies, and I would get the big 5 stack of pancakes, and my brother and sister, a little younger than me,
Mhm.
they would get the 3s, and they would only eat 1 or 2 of theirs, and I'd eat all 5 of mine. Then I'd finish theirs. Then I'd finish my mom's
my
food.
gosh. Your appetite was massive.
Yeah, and I've always been skinny. I've always been. I wasn't underweight. I was like
Mhm.
a lean, strong, fit weight,
Mhm.
but my appetite was massive, for sure.
That's insane, AJ.
And I always felt really good. First thing that was introduced to me was I started to notice I would get really nervous. This actually started in high school. I would be in high school, and it's when armpits started to actually like have body odor, and I would be nervous, and I'd be sweating, and then I'd be like, I didn't really, I knew what was happening, but at the same time, I wasn't wearing deodorant yet, and I was embarrassed, and my shirt was all wet. And I just noticed how nervous I would get. And this was like 6th, 7th grade. And as I got into high school, it's like, okay, now I'm an adult now. I know to put deodorant on and whatever, but I still had that anxiety.
Mhm.
And when I think back, that is the jumping off point into my nervous system and my health challenges that were to come,
Mhm.
for sure. So I was a cross country runner. I ran
Mhm.
cross country and track, and I was a natural talent. In my first year, I hurt my foot. I didn't start till I was a sophomore, and then my second year, I was like, "All right, I'm committed. I'm gonna take this so seriously and dominate this so hard that everyone's either gonna be impressed or they're gonna hate me because they're so jealous."
Now, was cross country the only sport that you played in high school?
In track and field.
Track and field.
Yeah.
So it was just those 2 sports that you played.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
I played soccer for fun, but I didn't.
Mhm.
And I did hockey as well, but that wasn't for school. That was I
Right.
joined the hockey team.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Awesome.
So what's interesting was I started working out like 2 weeks before. I would wake up and I'd go run. And my philosophy before the practices started with the team was, hey, if I lead every practice, I'm going to lead every race.
Mhm.
So no one's gonna touch me. So I had 2 weeks of training to prep, to build my legs up a little bit, and then we started, and we called it summer wars because we were at each other's throats to like be the best. And I would show up. I would be the first one there. I would be the first one to warm up, the only one to really take stretching seriously.
Mhm.
Be kicking my legs, be ready to go. Like, I'm gonna destroy this.
Right.
And then I wasn't even the captain. The captains would all be like, all right, everyone stay together. And I'm just gone. I would just like launch off like a rocket. And then everyone would try to stay with me for like 5 or 10 minutes. And then I just blow them all away. And it's interesting because as I did this and as I got fitter,
Mhm.
I would get back 20 minutes before the second guy would be back. And
Wow.
45 to an hour before the last guy got back. And it was only like a 6 or 7 mile run. So like literally they were being demolished.
Mhm. Would you say that's just natural ability?
Well, I was
No, like, you
training.
were just kind
like
of-
I said, I was showing up. I was doing the work. I was taking every part of it seriously.
Mhm.
And I did have a natural ability. I was running like a 5:45 without any training in junior high. So
Wow.
I had some legs on me. I always had
Mhm.
endurance. I always loved running. So the interesting thing is I got to a point where no one could keep up with me at all. And I was
Wow.
really fit. In fact, after practice, I would be the only one to stretch again, the only one to cool down, the only one to hydrate. I took every avenue of it seriously. I would go home, I would eat oatmeal and green tea, and then I'd take a nap, go to the gym, work out really hard, use the sauna, cold shower. Like my whole life, I would go to bed early every night. I didn't have to tell myself to. I wanted to be rested.
Right.
And I was shredded. I was tan from the sun, fit. I was the guy. The coach is like, you're my guy, like 100%.
Right.
And the cruel
Probably felt pretty
reality,
good.
oh, it was probably the happiest. Like it was so like for fitness wise, it was the happiest like I've ever been, because
Mhm.
I was doing what I deserved to be doing, being number one.
Nice.
But what's interesting is the reality really set in on the first race. And to bring it back around to my nerves, I was so nervous.
Mhm.
I was nervous the day before. I woke up nervous. My heart was pounding.
Wow.
I was sweating. I'm like, I knew I was fit. I knew I was going to kill it and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but I was so nervous.
And
the
this
thing
is
about,
you as a sophomore, correct? Your first race as a sophomore?
so I ran my sophomore year, but no, this is me as a junior. My
Okay.
sophomore year, I hurt my foot after a couple weeks.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
it wasn't really the best season.
Gotcha. So your junior year, this is your first race.
Yeah. So Pennypacker Park, like we have 3 guys who are like the top 3 ones, but we have a team of like 8 or 9 people
Mhm.
for guys. And, you know, the coach is hyping me up. Like he's like, get me ready for my race, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And the thing was, once the race started, I couldn't keep up with the other 2 guys on my team. Like I started to be dropped back already. And then as the race went on, I actually fell back to our number 6, and I came in as the 6th man on the Maple Shade cross country team.
Wow. So you were first,
so
crushing every one of your practices.
Every time I ran with these guys, they wanted
Mhm.
to be up with me, but they
Right.
couldn't. I'm not saying this is the best strategy to train, to go balls to the wall, but I was clearly way fitter at that moment than any of them.
Mhm.
But because my nerves and anxiety were so bad, and my heartbeat would be at like 120, not even doing any physical activity, I'd
Wow.
wear myself out before the race even started.
That's insane.
And what's interesting was when I would perform really well, it's when I wouldn't even know a race is happening. Like it's like, oh crap, it's race day, and we kind of just, there's no buildup.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a really, and I was plagued with that. Coaches didn't know what to do because
Mhm.
they weren't really equipped with the info to help me become the best athlete I can.
Right.
But it gave me a lot of empathy for the people who kind of do struggle with that.
Mhm. And even still, it's like, how can they help you with calming yourself down? It's not like they have any background in that, or maybe they might even have any experience in that, So how can they be like, hey, Jay, you need to do X, Y, and Z to calm yourself down? But it's like,
for sure,
that's not what they're there for.
Exactly. But the problem I had was they could see that I was upset and suffering, and they just kind of like didn't acknowledge it. They weren't like, hey, let's try to figure this out. No, like 2 or 3 years of nothing, just like, oh, okay, like whatever.
Right. Oh, this is AJ. He gets nervous before races. He's gonna get 5th and 6th.
It kind of feels shitty, to be honest.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, that's the correlation with the nerves, and the reason I bring that up is because high school is where I noticed my big physical health challenge. And what it was, we had a Christmas break my senior year, 2010. It was like, December 14th or 15th. And in school is where I always had my bowel movements. I was always in school. I had that nervous feeling, and I would go, and I would have really good digestion. I'd go twice a day. I'd eat a lot, but I would eliminate a lot. And it felt healthy. It felt very good. So on this Christmas vacation, I was going to be home for 10 days. And I'm not kidding you when I say the entire 10 days I was constipated, and it came out of nowhere. I went from going twice a day to literally being constipated for 10 days straight.
So you didn't go once?
Freaking out. And imagine I'm eating all that food still, and it's just like, so anyone can tell if you're cranky or if you're constipated as a kid, like you're just in a bad mood.
Right.
So that not only did it physically affect me, it freaked me out. And now it's in my mind. Now I'm nervous about it. Now when I go back to school, my bowels start working again, but they're not working as good. And I had the fear behind it.
So even at that age, you kind of knew what was happening, because even for me, myself, like, I don't even know if I would realize something like that. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, I haven't went to the bathroom in 10 days, like I wouldn't have taken notice of that. So that's really, go ahead.
Well, as I got fitter, especially that junior year, I really started to pay attention to my health. I started to eat healthier, oatmeal, green tea, take sleep more seriously, take fitness more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was very aware. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I have my cousin Cody always saying like, how do you even notice that? How do you even pay attention to
Yeah,
that? I'm like,
right.
I can't help but not pay attention to it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
in my face. It's like
Mm-hmm.
screaming in my face, you're constipated.
Wow.
And I would go to the physician, I go to the doctor and tell them, and they would just kind of like, like you're young, blah blah blah. And
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't help. They wouldn't offer anything, even a laxative. Not saying that, oh, that's the best solution, but I'm saying they didn't really offer anything in a
Mm-hmm.
way that's good, in my opinion, because they could have recommended a bunch of shitty things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of nice that they let me work it out for myself a bit.
Right.
But at the same time, you feel alone. You feel like, you're looking to authorities, or you're looking to people that are older than you for some answers on how to improve your digestion.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is if you addressed a few simple things, you could really improve it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to go the whole like laxative route or these things, or you have to do, enemas or something.
Right. Right.
So basically, I kind of went through my senior year with that issue. And I told myself, like, okay, at the time I was sharing a room with two people. I was stressed out. After I graduated, I was like, I'm going to move down and live with my best friend in Tennessee. So I moved down to Tennessee, and me and Cody had an apartment, and I started working at Subway, and it was a horrible job. I would just like make like 2 cheesesteak egg sandwiches every day and
Oh my
eat
gosh.
like 2 12-inch subs and eat that for lunch every day.
Oh my gosh.
But
It's
it's so
insane.
funny because like me and Cody would go to the grocery store together, and we get like, each get our chips, each get our this.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't sleep while I was there, and I was always so hungry. So one night he comes in to use, he had to walk through where I was to use the bathroom, and I'm eating his white cheddar popcorn, but it's all over my face and it's all over my hands, and I'm scooping it into my mouth.
Oh
And he walks in at 3 a.m. He's like, "You look like a crackhead."
my.
I felt like one. But so yeah, so that didn't I didn't find what I was looking for. I got more into ultra marathoning when I was down there. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that was I started doing long distance mountain running, go on these 3-hour runs. And I really, really love that, to be honest. But I found that whether it be the job or the area, it just wasn't for me. I ended
Mhm.
up moving back up to Jersey and just watching my health start to deteriorate, actually even more. So the constipation started to get worse. I started to get insomnia really, really badly. I wouldn't be able to fall asleep till like 6 a.m. every night.
My
So when
gosh.
you have sleep that's not good, when you're constipated, and then I started to get inflammation. I started
Mhm.
to get inflammation in my hands and in my lower back and in my knees and my ankles and my wrists and my fingers. And it actually was so bad to where it was really painful for me to hold a book.
Wow.
And not only that, it was hard for me to work. I worked at Wawa, and that made my sleep even worse because I
Mhm.
started doing the night shift. And I would leave every day and get 3 king size candy bars and eat that before I went home. Like, no
Jeez.
wonder I couldn't sleep, for sure.
That's crazy. And AJ,
Yeah,
can you let everyone know what point in time this is? Like, do you remember
sure.
what
Yeah.
age you are at this point in time?
Yeah. So when I graduated and moved to Tennessee, I was 19. And
Okay.
then things continued to get worse from 19 to about 22, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you moved to Tennessee and then you moved back up to New Jersey.
Yeah. I moved back into my grandmom's house.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yep. So my health continued to just kind of slant, go downward, and I
Mm-hmm.
was just getting more and more sick. I was bloated like crazy. I looked like a pregnant woman,
Mm-hmm.
and my nerves were terrible. My anxiety was bad. I was still running. I was still doing certain things that other people weren't doing. I
Mm-hmm.
could go run 2 or 3 hours. I was still eating 5, 6, 7, 8,000 calories.
That's
But
just.
things were getting so bad,
Mm-hmm.
and actually they got so bad to the point where became completely constipated. I was like, okay, like nothing's coming out. So I don't know if you're familiar with milk of magnesia. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I have heard of it. I might have used it when I was younger. I'm sure my parents would know better, but yeah, you want to tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So what I ended up doing, because it didn't matter if I ate fiber, it didn't matter if I did all these things other people were saying.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell it was my nerves and my sleep and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Digestion was just not working because it was impaired for these reasons. So I started to, it says to take a teaspoon. I started to take a few gulps before I went to bed so that when I woke up, yes, it was diarrhea, but at least some of that toxic gunk was coming out of me.
Right.
And I actually had to do that for 60 days completely, like no bowel movements, nothing unless I used that. And I even experimented not using it. And yeah, I stayed completely constipated. But
Oh
all
my.
of my symptoms were getting worse. I was going to physicians. They were testing my blood. They were testing my stool, because I would take the laxative before.
Mhm.
They test my thyroid. The woman actually was like, your thyroid's low, and she's pressuring me to take Synthroid. And I study a lot of different doctors, and they always say, always get a second blood test with thyroid. It can be off that day,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. So I going against her wishes, I said, I want another blood test. And she's like, are you kidding me? You need to start this now, blah, blah, blah. And for people that don't know, once you start taking Synthroid, it's a synthetic hormone. Your body stops making its own. So I don't want to just jump onto anything that's going to impair my body's function.
Mhm.
So I got the second blood test and it was perfect. And I was like, we can even get a third. But as soon as I got the second one, she kind of shut up. So I'm doing what any normal person would do, just not getting any results. Like it was annoying. It was frustrating. It was a
Mhm.
lot of suffering. And I was feeling really bad. And of course, I was very dramatic back then. I thought I was going to die and oh my God, I'm going to die. And I remember thinking that too. And then I noticed my cousin Rosie, she was going to her friend Isabella's. And I had already met Isabella a few times. I thought she was pretty cute. She seemed cool. And I also was in a house with 8 people sharing one bathroom. So that made it more difficult
Wow.
to use the bathroom because I could be in there about to go and someone's knocking on the door and that naturally can like tighten you up,
Yeah, tense you up for sure.
So I said to her, I was like, hey, listen, I know you're going to her mom's in Pennsylvania for a week. It'd be really cool if I could come because in my head, I'm like, it's my last vacation before I die. That's what I thought to myself. But really, it would just be nice to get
How
out.
positive of you. That's very,
Yeah, I know.
what a mindset to have.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, I'll ask. And Isabel was cool with it. And her mom was cool with it. And I was like, awesome. So remind you, I'm in like the worst health I've ever been. And I'm
Mhm.
not. And then it gets to the point on that 60 days where I'm not running anymore.
Wow.
It's just joint pain, everything's
Inflammation,
terrible. Right.
constipation.
Exactly. So then before we go to her mom's, we go stay with Isabella's dad for a few hours, and then her mom is going to pick us up from there, right?
Mhm.
So I bring a book, I bring some things because it's like I don't know if I'm going to be bored or whatever. And it was insane. I hadn't been able to read a book. I was reading at the time like manga because I was just trying to escape my reality. I was like, okay, I want to like listen to some fantasy world stuff because my reality sucks.
Mhm.
So I bring a book and I'm sitting there and I actually go through 90 pages of this really boring mystery book. And I was like, I just blew through that. And I noticed I was just super calm. And then within an hour, I go into his bathroom and I use it. And I have my first bowel movement in
Wow.
60 days,
Wow.
only being 2 hours in a new environment.
And that, like, so do you think reading the book and calming yourself down along with the new environment just made the
Well,
biggest difference? Or like, do you think it was one more than the other?
I think the new environment is what led to me being able to read and
Mhm.
be that
Okay.
calm.
Okay.
Led to that.
Right.
So I'll get in. It's going to expand from here because her mom picked us up. We went to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and she has this big, beautiful house. She worked for a company. I think she worked for Hershey Park, and so she made good money, and she had a nice house. I had my own room, my own computer. You know, the kids. Kids. I was like 21. Uh, we had the whole house to ourselves. And the mom would come home and bring us dinner and whatever. But it was like, okay, I have space. I have my own bathroom. Actually, I shared it with like one other person, but pretty much it felt like my own.
Right.
That first night, I fell asleep at 9 p.m. without trying to. I just fell asleep, woke up so rested, woke up and had a huge bowel movement.
Wow. That probably
Okay,
felt unreal.
it was like heaven on earth, for real. And then what followed was the next day. And the rest of the time there, the next 5 days, I had 3 large bowel movements every single day.
Wow.
And I'm just watching all of this dark, weird crap come out of me. Not only that, my pain was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I could sleep like a baby. I could read. I actually started running again, sweating,
Wow.
working out, all in a week. My diet was still horrible. I was eating Chinese food. I was eating pizza. I was eating ice cream, but my nervous system was so calm
Mm-hmm.
that I could handle the external stresses and pressures of the world, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be the food or anything else. And it was really like a huge wake up call where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta do something different. I can't
Mm-hmm.
just try to meditate in an environment that's making me so stressed. I have
Mm-hmm.
to actually do something about it.
So just by simply changing your environment, you got those results. And I'm sure it's not like you're even planning on that. It just kind of happened.
No,
It just came to be. It just came to
I was
fruition.
just planning on getting out because I was stressed, getting out while I could and just
Mm-hmm.
enjoying a vacation. And I did not expect a complete turnaround in my
Right.
health. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
In fact, I don't think it was just the environment. I think it was also the people I was around. It was really fun to be around Rosie and Isabella. Like they were lighthearted. We just had fun. We just watched
Mm-hmm.
movies, hung out. We went out to eat, did whatever. It was
Nice.
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 It was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually started to develop a bit of a crush on Isabella at the time. I remember, I know it's cheesy. I remember seeing it. We're all sitting on the patio and I see a shooting star. And I'm like, whoa, I would, my wish. I would love a chance with this woman. Like she's really cool.
Nice.
So
It's a great
then,
wish.
yeah, we went back, and within 2 hours of being back at my grandmom's house, I could feel it. I could feel my colon just tightening up and closing up. I come
No
home, my
way.
uncle ripped apart the whole kitchen. He just left everything on the dining room table. I'm just like, I can't do this again. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I can't.
Oh
So
my gosh.
within 2 days, luckily, my mom found a place. We had been at my grandma's for a while just because we had some personal family stuff that we went through. And we found a place and we moved out after 10 years of being there. And things were still way better. I was now having my own bowel movements. I would say it was once a day, and it was about 70% relief compared to what I was getting.
Mm-hmm.
But something was still missing. Still like my nerves, a little bit unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, maybe there's more to it. Maybe it's because I was spending a week with a beautiful woman that it was really fun to be around.
Right. Right.
So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I know this is weird. I know this is out of nowhere, but I would really like to get to know you better. And I had a great time with you. And I could tell she was uncomfortable a bit. And actually, we ended up having a hangout date at my aunt's. There was no one there. We played pool, we hung out, and it went really well.
Nice.
But then, and it ended really well. We were kind of like looking forward. I was like, I'm good.
Was she excited too?
Well. Yeah, she was really sweet. We had a really good time.
Mm-hmm.
And the house we were at, their family was going through some pretty rough stuff. So it kind of ended abruptly because everyone came home. But it went really well. And I left that feeling like, cool, like this is great.
Yeah, like we're going somewhere.
Yeah. And then like I got a message later on, like, hey, we shouldn't do this. And this isn't good. And I was like, I was kind of like, heartbroken a little bit. But at the same time, it is what it is. I can't make anyone feel anyway. I was just confused, to be honest. I thought it went really well. She seemed like she was into it. And then, she kind of turned it down. So then life goes on. And I found myself, being a little bit challenged. And then I listened to Rich Roll's podcast. I remember I was in this living room. I'm at my mom's right now. And I listened to the episode with Mike Arnstein. And Mark, for those of you who don't know Mike Arnstein, he's the guy that runs the Woodstock Fruit Festival.
Here we go, baby.
He's an ultra marathon champion, destroyer. And,
I'm getting chills, baby.
Yeah, this is a really fit dude. Rich Roll had him on, and this guy is just eating fruits and vegetables, and he's destroying his ultra marathon and marathon times. So I was like blown away. I thought eating fruit was really weird and stupid. And then I listened to this interview, and this guy was destroying it. And he looked like the picture of health.
Mm-hmm.
The way he spoke to me because I was all about running. And I was really interested in being vegan. I was already like, Rich Roll's the man. I really have a lot of respect for Rich Roll. I've been listening since episode 1 of the Rich Roll podcast when it came out. and the audio was way worse than our first episode. So we're doing pretty well here.
Yeah,
to start off. But
that's good.
Yeah, so I listened to that episode and I started eating fruit. And before that, I had like cold hands, my anxiety, all these things. Once I started eating fruit, I was like, I feel normal. Like I feel warm. I feel like
comforted.
Stable.
Yeah.
I feel stable. I feel energized.
Mm-hmm.
The hydration of the fruit. I felt like hydrated and nourished.
Was it just fruit, or was it?
So I started including more fruit. I wasn't
Okay.
eating an only fruit diet. So
Gotcha.
I call my cousin Cody, because we talk, for the last 25 years we talk on the phone pretty much every day. And I'm like, dude, you gotta try this. And we're eating like tomatoes, and we're eating apples, and we're eating unripe bananas, and we're eating watermelon, and we're like feeling so good. But nighttime comes around and we're starving. So I'm eating chicken fingers and French fries, and you feel good all day, but then you're ravenous and you eat that. So I'm like, I consume all of Mike Arnstein's content on YouTube. He had a bunch of videos, watched them hundreds of times. And then I was like at my cousin Will Yost's house, and I'm like typing into YouTube fruitarian. and I find DurianRider, Harley Johnstone, 30 bananas a day, carb the fuck up, the banana boy.
Nice. And
I've showed MP the video 100 times, the first video, where Harley's just going off about dietitians, and he's basically defending a woman who's eating fruits and vegetables. And I think that I thought to myself when I watched that, this guy's making a lot of really good points. He's addressing things that I want to know, like how much should I be eating? How much should I be drinking? What is the deal with B12? He had a lot of answers where everyone else was kind of just like, figure it out for yourself. And
yeah, like leaving it open-ended.
That's great. But at first you need a little bit of direction when you're confused. So I was hooked. DurianRider to me was unbelievably inspiring. He spoke my language at the time. That was 2013. He was all about fruit and then having some rice at night. So I started eating more that way, but I was still eating a lot of pizza and a lot of eggs and stuff. And then Freely, his girlfriend, released a video called What's in Your Burger. And it not only showed what was in the meat in some places, like back when the pink slime or the hormones or, the way that these animals are on antibiotics. But then the second half of the video was how the animals are treated. And even though I knew they were killed, obviously, to see it firsthand was like jaw dropping. So sad. She showed clips from Earthlings, which is just, I don't have words for it.
Yeah,
it's upsetting.
I haven't watched Earthlings. I've heard about it,
right?
But it doesn't sound like a fun movie to watch,
Right. So it's not.
Yeah.
So I went vegan to February 8th, 2014, after I've been watching Harley about 9 months. I was like, okay, I have the gist of it. I get it. Even if I need to make this work, like I can make this work. And even if I'm failing at it, I can reach out. I could get a vegan doctor. I don't know, but I wanted to make it happen.
Nice.
2 days later, my brother and sister go vegan. Cody had already been vegan for a couple weeks then, or a month. So we were all kind of flipping a certain switch on that. We wanted to eat more plants, fruits and vegetables, and we wanted to feel better and take care of ourselves. And I actually started feeling a lot better. I wasn't really into fitness because I was always so full carbing up. I never trained at all. I just was always so full, but I felt really good. I felt like I finally had control of my life. I felt carved up. I was completely in alignment with sleep, water, sugar, taking care of your sleep, your hydration, and your food. And I was like, okay, I want to do something different with my life. I want to go travel Europe. I went to Poland. I went to Sweden, Germany, Denmark, France. And I hurt my foot there. And, I couldn't see a physician there without paying a bunch of money. So when I came back, I seen countless physicians, specialists in the field of joint pain and ligaments. And for 6 months, I was hopping around because my foot wasn't broken, but no one could figure out like why it's so inflamed and how to get it down. And this was a real powerful introduction to what people like professionals don't necessarily have answers all the time unless you find someone who really knows what they're talking about.
And can I interrupt you real quick before you go there? I'm sure at this point in time too, you're feeling like, wow, you found the answer, you found your calling.
Sure.
and you probably have so much confidence going into all of this, and then boom, you just get shaken up by this injury. So I can imagine like
Right.
how you're feeling, and the trauma you're
Sure.
going through.
So
So go ahead.
so I was still eating raw till 4, but the thing was I was actually so depressed
Mm-hmm.
that I really wasn't eating much.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always want to be an ultra runner. That was my dream. And I have this foot injury that no one can help me with, and I'm beyond frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So Cody, like I said, we're on the phone every day. He's working with this guy who's from, I think he's from the Middle East. And he's like, yo, I played barefoot soccer my whole life. I had that injury 10,000 times. Here's what you do. You put it in hot water, you take it out, you rub along the toe long ways.
Mm-hmm.
2 days, it was back to normal. No
Wow,
lie. So you have this guy who's just working at Goodwill, he solved my problem,
that's
but
crazy.
I'm paying hundreds and thousands of dollars going to physicians telling me they can cut my nerve out so I don't feel the pain. It's a fucking joke, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. It's
Yeah, that's
disgusting.
really
It's sad. It's so how can they not have some kind of better answer than that?
right. So you're basically just saying that you went to these doctors and they were providing you with they didn't provide you with like any treatments at all. They weren't really off like what were they offering you? Like were they
They were saying they didn't know. They were
okay?
saying that the X-ray show it's not broken.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying they can cut out the nerve. They were saying, "Did you put ice on it?" Yes, I put fucking ice on it. Like, this is all you have? You have
Mm-hmm.
all of this equipment. You have all of this training.
Mm-hmm.
I went to athletic. What's it called? Athletic. What is it called in school when you go to the
The athletic
like when you're
trainers?
in a sport? Yeah, the athletic
Yeah.
trainers that work with injuries.
Yeah.
Like none of them had any
Mm-hmm.
solutions for this. It was all like rest. It's like I've been resting for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. So you
So
still had this injury after 6 months, like you couldn't figure it out. You
right,
didn't
it
know
was
what to
still
do.
swollen. It still hurt every time I walked on it.
Uh-huh.
And
And then
yeah, I
you came
was
across this guy and just like that, he had an answer
yeah,
for you.
Cody's friend. He was like, you do this stretch and you do this heat application, and I think what it was is it helped straighten out the like ligament that was out of place or something. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
for sure, but it was something like that. It basically straightened it out.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like really woke to the fact that like people have answers out there. You just got to find them.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back after I came back from Europe. Also, it was harder to like carb up there, and I was eating about 2,000 calories, but I actually gained weight. I was eating more fatty stuff. I was like getting a loaf of bread and just putting vegan butter on it. So I came back and I was like 5 or 10 more pounds, but I was really worried about my metabolic damage. So I started carbing up like crazy and eating like 8,000 calories, and
Jeez.
and I got fat. I actually did. I got 185 pounds, which was fat for me. I'd
Mm-hmm.
always been 150 pounds. It felt horrible. It felt like shit.
I can imagine.
I was like, even though I was eating so clean,
Sloppy.
yeah, I was eating like 10 pounds of potatoes for over like 5 hours and eating fruit all day.
I mean,
But
what do you think it was? Like, what do you think it was
I was overloading
just
my system like crazy. I was having this feeling that I thought was burning hunger. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know what it is. I'm like hungry, like
you're
intensely.
starving.
I'm like
Like you're missing
starving.
something.
And Cody's like, sounds like acid reflux.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I've never had acid reflux. And he's like, go drink some orange juice. I drink it. Like, oh, I think it's acid reflux. I just burdening my body with so much food that I
Right.
think it was like making it a bit acidic.
That's
So
like
eventually,
it's like
I'm
two and a
eating
half times
bananas.
what I eat now.
Yeah. So and that was just like my late afternoon food. I was still eating food during the day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So like I said, 8,000 calories of Whole Foods. And so eventually I just was just like, all right, sticking bananas and rice, just 3 to 4,000 calories. I balanced out. I was working and everything, so it was fine. And then I moved out. I got my own place in Morristown, New Jersey. As soon as I move out, I'm feeling super peaceful again, like
Mm-hmm.
back in the vacation day. Just feeling a lot better. I had my own space. It felt like it was so easy to save money. For all the
Yeah.
people out there that are living with your parents and you think, I'm here and I'm saving money. I always have 5 times more money than when I live with my parents because all my priorities shift and change, and I make better decisions and bigger decisions, and I have more rest. I work harder. it's just like a win-win all around. It's
Wait,
not about
did you say that you had 5 times more money than when you were with your parents or without your parents?
like as far as I wouldn't earn 5 times more. I would earn more, but I mean like money to use for things I need or want, I would have more of a surplus. So I would save more money. I would
When you
prioritize.
weren't with your parents?
Yeah, once I moved out,
Okay,
it's
okay,
like all
okay.
of my
Sorry.
priorities shifted. And it was
Gotcha.
easier to have
Gotcha.
money. It was easier to
Gotcha.
save, to have nice things.
For sure.
So
I just
that's
didn't hear
going
you
to,
properly.
no, you're fine. And so after about a week, I come back to my job. Me and Cody work together. Cody's my cousin, by the way. He's going to be mentioned a lot on this podcast. He's my older cousin. We've been best friends for almost 29 years, just so everyone's clear on who that is. So me and him work together at this restaurant, and I pull up, and he's like, "Your girl's here," and I'm like, because I told Cody about her, and I come in, and she's in there eating with my cousin. And I sit down, and I talk with them, and I tell them about my place, of course, setting the intention of hoping they come over and visit. So after they leave, I was like, "Hey, you guys should come over and we'll have some tea and we'll hang out." And then she was like, "Hey, can Isabella come?" Like in my head, I'm like,
you're like, "Yes, please."
You're like, you don't have to, but she can.
And AJ, real quick, can you give us a time limit here? I like to just make sure everyone knows.
I know how.
No, like I mean like time limit with your age.
Sure, like a timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm about 23 here, 23 years old. So it's 5 years after Isabella and I spent time at her mom's. So 5 years had passed.
Wow.
And she just moved back to the area because she used to live in Jersey. She moved back from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And I came over and we had a nice time. We just hung out and it's like, cool. You know, it felt good. It felt like I felt confident. I had my own place, my own car.
Right.
You know, feeling stronger and healthier.
For sure.
So then I remember they didn't hang out for a little bit, and I was like, oh man, like so like eventually they came out and hung out again, and it was like I could feel some vibes. I could feel like, okay, this could, like, maybe I'm crazy, but this feels really good. And I would notice when she would leave, she'd always turn around an extra time to like look and like wave and stuff.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay, cool.
Hey, it's the little things, right? It's the little things,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, you can feel and pick up on those things. They're signals for sure.
Right.
Sometimes like sometimes someone's just being nice. You need to be able to try to read that and make them feel comfortable. But I could tell like she seemed interested for sure.
Awesome.
So we ended up going to Whole Foods one day after they came over and my brother was there. And she actually reached out to me, Isabel, and she asked me, I have Lyme's disease. And I know you kind of overcame some of your health stuff. Do you have any info for me to look into? And I did. And I said, yeah, can you give me would you give me your phone number so that we can discuss this? So we started texting back and forth. And then eventually we started hanging out one-on-one. And it was never said because I was very nervous back then, but that it was a date or anything. So the first few times it was like friends. It was like we went for a walk the first time. Then the second time we sat at a park. And I remember saying to her, like, some of the things that I really love in my life and enjoy. And I was like, what do you enjoy? And she's like, this is pretty amazing. And I was just like, that was a good line. But
I'm sure you were pretty happy.
Yeah, eventually I said, like, we were going to Pennsylvania and I said to hang out. And I said, yeah, I'll pick you up for our date. And then, you know, she just sent a smiley face. So I was like, okay, like this is my first experience with actually dating a woman. I had been with one other woman before that, but it was really just some short-lived thing. And it was just like my first kiss kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm 23 years old, and yeah, this is like my first date. It's funny because in high school I had like a killer face, and everyone would be afraid of me. And then my brother comes up to me last year and he's like, you know, girls would come up to me and ask about you and ask what your deal is, but they were all kind of like afraid of you. So like I was cock blocking myself a little bit. But anyway,
it's good to have friends. It's good to have brothers that actually are honest with you, you know, even though he was a bit late there, I guess, but
10 years later.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started dating and it was really amazing. We took it very, very slow. We actually didn't even kiss till date 9. So we were like,
it's pretty good,
real slow, enjoying ourselves, just sitting or laying down in my bed, but just talking for 8 hours about our lives and what we've been through and our hopes and dreams. And time just flew. It was incredible. It was, you know, love was building for sure. And then what was it? I think it was around Christmas time. We got a cat together. She wasn't living with me. She said she would live with me if I got a cat. And we got the cat and she didn't. And the cat was a little mother. He would just keep me up all night. He would just scratch my feet. He'd wake me up constantly. I literally put a mattress over my legs so that he couldn't get to them. He would just crawl under the mattress and just scratch me until I would bleed. If I tried to ignore him, he would just do it until I bled. And if she slept over, he would scratch me and not her.
That is madness.
So I'm working 2 jobs and I'm getting pissed. I'm getting so frustrated.
Yeah, because we know how much you prioritize your sleep, and if you're
not
not
like that, my sleep, my health, my apartment, it was like it was his apartment almost. So I tell her, I'm like, I don't want this cat, and I could tell like her look, like she was heartbroken, and it kind of felt like the first thing that happened between us that felt stressful, because before that it was pretty gravy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all relationships, they start out amazing, and then it's like, okay, when's that first fight gonna be? When's that first disagreement gonna happen?
Yeah, and it wasn't really a fight. It was just a feeling of like being frustrated because I was working 2 jobs. Even when she was hanging out with me, we were hanging out till 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I drop her off at home or whatever, and then I'd sleep for a few hours and then go work.
Wow.
And it was burnout mode. I really burned myself out. So we were together for 3 years. We had our ups and downs, but we really loved each other. At least I believe that for sure. I really loved her. And towards the end, I had some like dental issues, infection, was not doing too well with my health. I was really stressed out. I started only working 1 job, but I had this massive infection from my wisdom tooth, and it made it hard to eat, and I didn't have the money to get it out. It was a couple $1,000s. And everyone around me is just watching me get sick and skinny, and no one's like, hey, like I'll help you out with that, and then you could just pay me back. It was kind of just like just watching.
Yeah, like figure it out yourself.
Fall apart.
Yeah,
it didn't make much sense to me, but I was one, I felt bad, and 2, I was too shy in a way to just be like, hey, somebody help me, please.
Right.
Like, just help me get this tooth out. So 6 months goes by, I finally get it out, but my metabolism and everything's kind of wrecked. I was eating mostly fruit then because I was trying to minimize the effects of the infection. I knew that fruit was really helping with the inflammation and stuff, but I worked my way into a really tight spot again. My weight had gone down to 113 pounds. I was 6 foot tall. My nervous system was wrecked. I had no sex drive. We had not spent a night together in that way for 6 months, and she was, excuse me, I could feel like she was needing some, a love and attention and a real boyfriend where I wasn't. It was almost like she was my caretaker. It was pretty sad.
Wow.
And I wasn't working, and I was working, but I wasn't really making much money. I didn't have a car at this point because mine broke down. I didn't put the effort in to fix it. So things were going south, and it was really hard for me to watch it happen because I could see it all happening, but I felt powerless to stop it. And I worked at this amazing place called Elevate Nutrition, and at that time, and I decided that I was going to do something to try to fix my digestion. I had left the raw till 4 carb up world and got more into the detox world, and I was trying to eat. The tooth was out. I was trying to eat more, but my body was not handling it well. My digestion, it wasn't just constipation. It was like I couldn't handle, my stomach would just be sick, or my nervous system, I could not sleep when I was eating. I was in fight or flight. And for those of you who don't know what fight or flight is, basically like that adrenaline rush. If your stomach drops because you hear bad news or something, like you just have this pumping of adrenaline. I was kind of living in that constantly. So I would actually wake up at 5 a.m. because my kidneys were hurting really badly. And I would cry because I'd realize it's all real. I'd realize that, I would wake up and all this pain and all this suffering was real. And I don't think I've ever been more scared or unhappy in my whole life until, and then I did what's called the Master Fast system. I did 38 days on grape juice and lemon juice, and I didn't lose any weight. A lot of people think I lost weight from doing the fast, when really the fast was just a result of not being able to handle food. And I thought I'd give myself a break, clean up my GI tract a little bit, and kind of hopefully reset things so I can metabolize the food And yes, I was already going to physicians and they were just shaking their head, not really sure what to do.
And real quick, AJ, to interrupt you here. For those of you who do not know what the Master Fast system is, it's a very, I guess,
Intense.
I guess intense is a good word. I was going to say powerful and pulling on the body. And it takes a lot out of you. I mean, I wouldn't really recommend it to anybody.
I don't recommend it.
Yeah. And, I've heard a lot of people have bad experiences with it. I mean, there has been people who have had good experiences, you know. Right. But I mean, I think there's definitely a lot that goes into it. And if you were going to do something like that, it'd be ideal to get a coach, you know, or to get, I mean, I don't even know if I would do
I don't
it in
recommend
general.
it. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I think it's too much. It's too intense.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even for that long, I could see maybe doing it for like a couple days if you wanted to, but doing it for in an extended period of time can just be way too much, even on the body, you know? So, anyways, go ahead, AJ.
So I'm about day 30, I believe it is, into the Master Fast. And I noticed my tongue finally clears. When it started, it was completely purple. And I'm like, okay, the juice is going to turn my tongue purple. That's whatever.
Right.
But I noticed that eventually, even though I'm drinking the juice, it just stayed pink. Like the tongue completely cleared. And once it did, I felt very normal, very stable. And I felt like I watched a lot of this weird stuff coming out of me. Even though I was drinking this dark purple grape juice, I'm watching green come out of me constantly. And it looks like mold. It looks like there's little white worms and different weird things. Yeah. And I can't say for sure what it was, but I was just seeing this happen.
Right.
But at the same time, I was becoming so emotionally raw. And what I mean by that is I felt like I couldn't lie anymore. I couldn't tell a lie. I couldn't do things that I thought were sneaky, or I couldn't do things that I felt bad about. And one of the things was I said to Isabel, I'm like, listen, I love you, but you don't have to stick around because you feel bad. You know, you don't have to stick around. Like you've been doing more than you need to do. And I don't want you to feel like you're stuck with me, you know? And it was really hard for me to do. I definitely broke down.
It's actually very mature of you to say that to her. I'm sure it was tough, obviously, but
yeah, I remember where I was and everything. I cried, and I'm sure it's not the most attractive thing to see your man constantly crying, but I was wrecked. So I said that to her, and she reassured me, and she said like, hey, like we're in this together. And it felt amazing. And later, actually, she sent me a message, and it was really beautiful. It was exactly what I needed to hear. I can know things, but hearing it also really helps. And it was just like, I have time, patience, and all these things for you and whatever. And it's like, it's exactly what I needed to hear. So I knew she was looking for a job. I knew she was, sometimes she would smoke cigars with her father. So she was
kind of badass.
Cigars. Yeah. So once in a while, every month or 3 months or something. So I worked next to a cigar shop, and one of the customers was there. I was at my store, and I recommended, hey, like, are you hiring? I knew she'd be in an environment that is social and around guys and around people with money, and like you just said, oh, it's badass. Like, it'd be an environment that probably wouldn't be good for our relationship. But like I said, I couldn't lie. I couldn't have a bad intention. So I was like, hey, like, are you hiring? And I tried to get her a job there. She got the job. And then a week later, she left me. And I had a feeling like they were probably together. And here's the thing. I don't want anyone to feel bad. If by the off chance she's seen this or something, I still have great intentions for you and everybody else. It's just, it really hurt to be able to get the job for her and then see her with him. Like, it didn't feel good.
Right.
So I knew I couldn't continue to work where I worked for the last 3 years. I really loved that job. We were all about plant-based nutrition and helping people, but I couldn't emotionally handle it. So I left there. I went to Colorado for a little while. I came back from there, and then I went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival. And Woodstock Fruit Festival actually changed everything for me. So I'm going.
What year is this?
This is 2018.
Okay.
So I go to Woodstock Fruit Festival, a completely wrecked human being, but I go there, and then I run into this woman who ran Miami Fruit's account, Adele. And then she knows exactly who I am, and she comes up to me, and we're talking, and just felt like appreciated there. I'm skinny as heck. Like, I'm like 115 pounds, 6 foot. So I already feel horrible about myself. I already feel judged. Then I go up to this other guy, Benny, and I recognized him from a YouTube video. And I start talking to him. He's like, AJ, like, you seem like you have a heavy heart. What's going on, man?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm constantly running into these people that don't even know me. And they're more genuinely concerned about me than half my family is and my real friends who are just watching me deteriorate.
Right.
So it was really uplifting to be in an environment where, yes, I know I look horrible. I know I feel horrible because I'm doing horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But these people are still uplifting me and kind of emotionally there for me. This is pretty amazing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I have like the best week of my life there. You know, it's easy to eat raw. My digestion's, I know I mentioned digestion a lot. So sleep and digestion have always been my foundation of how I'm doing. If those two are on point, I'm doing pretty well.
Nice.
So I have this amazing week. I meet tons of amazing people. Mike Arnstein invites me to go stay with him in Hawaii if I ever want to visit.
Awesome.
Which is like a dream. You know, I go see Mike Arnstein's talk on Hawaii. I was like, I'm sold. So I'm actually so I leave there and Cody's actually freaked out. I call him and he's like, you're scaring me, dude. Because I went from being so negative and crying literally 50 times a day after the breakup, like that, it completely wrecked me, to just being completely happy and just looking forward to my future and everything.
So not only was your health deteriorating, like outside of your girlfriend, but then her breaking up with you just made it even worse.
Yeah. So she broke up with me on day 35 of the fast. I broke at day 38. And what was I going to say? Like, I went from feeling those positives, like I said, when my tongue cleared, but when she broke up with me, it made the fast 50 times harder. Like I could barely even drink the juice. I was just so upset. But it was, I thanked, like at the time, I thanked her afterwards because I was like, listen, this has been stressful for both of us and I need this time alone. So I'm really happy and grateful you did this and broke up for us, because I don't think I ever would have been able to. I think I was way too in love with her, and I think that I didn't love myself enough to be able to do that. So Isabel, I want to thank you for being able to pull that trigger, and it's what led me to being able to turn around my life and really focus on, you know, what needs to be done. So it took about a year, and I finally, what happened was I was still seeing doctors. I was still trying to get help and get my weight up. And they were passing me from specialist to specialist to specialist. And I don't have insurance. So I was paying $100, $200, $300 per specialist, not naturopaths, not like natural doctors, real clinical physicians, doctors' offices, MDs. And they're just passing me from one to the other. Oh, we don't see anything. Oh, we don't notice anything. They're checking my blood. They're checking like 2 things. I think they're like, we checked everything. I'm like, oh, really? What was my B12? Oh, we didn't check that. Oh, what was this? Oh, we didn't check. They didn't check anything. I had to request things, and I didn't know this at the time. So I go to this GI doctor, and this was like, I think before Woodstock, like a few days. I know I'm going a little bit out
of the next year
about that. No, of the original first Woodstock. It was like a week before, and I was saying to him like my digestive issues, and it was a GI doctor that was recommended as the best GI doctor in South Jersey. He literally talks to me and says, I don't know why they sent you to me. And I was blown away. I was kind of happy because I just keep getting confirmed that I'm not crazy. Like, you go to a doctor who's about the stomach and the intestines and you're saying you're constipating. He goes, I don't know why they sent you to me. I've told real integral physicians about that, and they just are blown away because they don't understand how someone could say that. So in that moment, I'm like, I have to take control of my life. I have to get serious. No more crying. I get a consult with someone who I started watching his videos, DTM, Dan McDonald, Life Regenerator. And because I need a different approach. I need to look at this from a different way. And he looked really good. He had been on raw living foods for, 25 years. So I have a consult with him. And he's like, dude, you're not supposed to live in detox. You're not supposed to live on push these things. He's like, you need some minerals, dude. Get on the green juice. Take the enzymes, get some Restore, fix up your leaky gut, and don't be afraid of fat. Use avocado, use a raw olive oil. This stuff's going to be medicine for you. Your nerves are fried. You're living in polluted, traffic-ridden South Jersey, and you're trying to live a tropical lifestyle with garbage fruit.
Yeah, it's tough to put those two together. That's for sure.
It is for sure. So,
but then once again, you got to think to like everyone's kind of living that way, like if you're in a big city, I mean, you're living with that environment. So sure. I can imagine I'm sure there's obviously a lot of people out there who are in good health, and they can handle it. And they aren't dealing with issues like you are dealing, but for some people.
Hey, MP, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I want you to keep talking and keep everyone entertained, because I had a huge smoothie and I really had to take a piss.
Hey, yeah. So we are gonna take a little a little break here from AJ's story. AJ, he's been through a heck of a lot. I'm actually just so impressed with how committed he's been over the past couple of years to really regain his health. And I'm excited for you guys to hear his words here, because they are very powerful, and it's just really cool to hear, and once again, this is AJ's story. This is what really has gotten him to regain his health back, and it might not, if someone else is in bad health or in a bad standing, I mean, this might not work for them, but it's just really cool to see AJ be as healthy as he is, and I'm really, really proud of him. And I'm actually just so excited to see what he has coming up over the next couple weeks, next couple months, and even years. It'll be really cool to see his transformation all the way from the beginning, and even 5-10 years later. So I'm really, really, really excited to see that. And it's been awesome being a part of his journey. So, anyways, yeah, AJ is back, and he's ready to rock and roll again.
Yeah.
So
I really needed that. Thank you.
No problem at all. So you found DTM, and do you know how you found him? How you got a hold of him?
Yeah. First, so I was watching all the YouTube videos of different people.
Right. Just like trying to find answers.
His videos.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
And I was like, this guy, he's talking about things that everyone else isn't talking about. He's talking about green juice and salads.
For sure.
And enzymes, and he actually is a good body weight, and he looked very youthful and colorful and in his health. And one of the other things he said is to get on some raw vegan quality amino acids. So like Pyridine protein. He's like, there's lots of people who try to be breatharian or fruitarian for years, and they're kind of depleted and really skinny and scrawny, and he gets them on that. And it's amazing, because I went from eating 3,000 to 4,000 calories of fruit or even potatoes, and I couldn't get my weight above 135. But eating a diet of 1,000 to 1,500 calories of doing green juice all day and a salad with some of that protein, I was able to get up to 152 pounds.
That's crazy.
So my take on it is, yes, calories are important, but meeting your body's needs at that time is what can really help balance it out. Yeah,
and AJ and I, we'll dive into some of this stuff later, talking about calories and just our opinions on it,
Right.
And I'm sure AJ can't even say that, like, living on something that's low calorie like that, I mean, that might not be the best. I'm not sure like what your thoughts are on that. But for a time period, it's okay, especially if you're giving yourself all the needs, if you're meeting your needs to your body for that point in time.
Yeah, I think that's a topic we can definitely dive into more later. And I think it's more along the lines of, how do you want to live and what is your current lifestyle? If you're on the bike or something, you're going to need definitely more calories and stuff.
Right.
But if you're trying to overcome something and you're focusing on more rest and stuff like that, I think that it could be pretty cool. One of the things, I was too weak at first to like make my own green juice and afford to go buy it. So I started using this green juice that's organic, cold pressed from 7-Eleven. And that's what kept me out of the hospitals. It finally made it to where my body was a little more stable. I stopped urinating. I was urinating like crazy before that. Like I would take like a little bit of fruit or water. I remember I ate 3 bananas And it put me into such a fight or flight that I peed like 15 times after eating 3 bananas. So like, this is the state I was in. It was pretty insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that I had that session with DTM, but it's not like my life turned around that instant. It was like a seed was planted to focus more on green juice, salads, try these things. Of course, in my head, I'm like, I can't afford this. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought giving him at the time, the coaching call was $200. I was like, this has to solve all my problems. It's so much money. I don't think that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it was a seed that needed to be planted.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing more and more green juice, more and more salads. And when I say more and more salads, I just mean consistently doing more salads, because I was eating 1 salad a day. So it took about a year after the breakup, but I finally got my weight back up. I was working full time again. I moved out. I got a car. And it's like I'm redoing my whole life again. I know the people around me are like, oh, he's doing this thing again.
Yeah.
And instead, I would rather them have a little bit of empathy for me and realize like my life doesn't always feel easy, and I'm doing my best. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because we don't know what other people are really going through unless we're in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get my own place again, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about myself. You know, I already done the 2019 Woodstock, but I was still low weight then. So this is after that stuff. You know, because at 2019 I was still only 135 pounds, even though I ate more fruit there than anybody there, besides maybe like the 5% of people. I remember I ate 70 banana cinnamon rolls in one night, 70 out of the dehydrator. And we had a durian and cinnamon banana roll party.
I'm doing that this year.
Yeah, for sure. But so I'm again feeling like a man, feeling really good about myself. I have we do the whole meetup after the Pranic Raw thing. I do want to just say one thing. It's not really I just want to say about last week when we brought up Pranic Raw that I did speak out and say that no one respects the guy that ran it. I take that back, because there are people that respect him, and people have reached out and said something about that. I was speaking from a place of not being there and then hearing what everyone who witnessed what went down had to say. So that's kind of where I was coming from with it. I get that people respect him. I am grateful that he put on the event. I met a lot of friends I'd never met before. And I actually met who would become my girlfriend at the time. So again, I'm appreciative. I'm sure it could have been handled well on all realms and all parties. I don't want any bad blood. And I just want everyone to just be like, okay, cool. This happened. It's not, it's unfortunate, but let's move.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, AJ.
Yeah. So we had that at my house, 11 people, guys and girls, everyone comfortable, having fun, doing their own thing. And at the festival, I met someone. I also want to bring that up because on last week on the podcast, you were saying something. We were talking about my confidence. I was saying I should be confident because I just had slept with someone the night before. And I admit that it was pretty distasteful for me to throw it out like that. But the reason I brought it up is because over the last 2 years, 6 months before my girlfriend Isabel left me, and then still another year and a half, I had no sex drive. Do you know what it's like to go from having a beautiful woman to her leaving you for someone else, and then having no sex drive for that long, 2 years? And it makes it doesn't make you feel very confident for sure. So when I'm going to this festival, I'm feeling that testosterone. I'm feeling the confidence a little bit more. And yes, I still had some insecurities, but the reason I said that was because it was very important to me. I'd come a long way. I had come from a completely wrecked health life, completely shattered. So I was kind of proud of myself in the fact, but I did it in a non-tasteful way. It could have been said better for sure, but that's kind of why it was brought up. And I'm definitely going to be more respectful going forward. Going forward with both the podcast and myself, just carrying myself a little more professionally. And
awesome.
For
AJ,
those of you who thought that was distasteful, I want to apologize for that.
AJ, thank you for saying that. That's very, very mature, and very, very authentic of you. And we really appreciate you owning up to that. So thank you once again for that. And just on the sex drive stuff too. I feel like in the community that we're in, it's almost like it's good to have no sex drive,
Right.
and it's good to have low testosterone, like have no libido, you know,
Or yeah, or
whereas
it's almost like, oh, that's okay.
yeah. And 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 like it's your life. You can do whatever you want, you know, however you feel. But like I want to feel confident, you know, I want to feel good. I want to feel that drive to go out and meet a
Or
woman and
vitality,
yeah,
right?
and just and have a great relationship with a woman, you know. And losing that, and I have lost mine before, and I'll get into that at some point. Well, I'll get to that when I share my story. Um, and even in some other episodes. But it's not fun. You know,
Right.
it's like you don't want to lose your test. You know, you don't
Right.
want
And
to
we're
lose.
not talking about walking around trying to sleep with as many women as we can. We're
Yeah.
talking about making love to someone that's important to us, and we
Mhm.
want both parties to be fully happy
For
with the
sure.
way the relationship is.
For sure.
So,
Yeah. So AJ, let's get back to your story.
right.
You were I know you were talking about how you just got done with DTM and how he was planting the seed in your mind about the green juice, the minerals,
Yeah.
the enzymes, the amino acids, the
Right.
probiotics. So like you just started drinking the green juice and you didn't automatically feel great, but I mean, is that what happened or like?
I immediately felt better because
Oh, okay, okay,
when you're
okay.
missing what you need, you'll
Mm-hmm,
notice a benefit right away. But it's almost like you notice a lot and then it kind of levels out
mm-hmm,
because yeah, you're super thirsty at first and you drink that water, it's like it's perfect.
mm-hmm.
But as it goes on, they might level out and normalize. So for me, it's not like the green juice completely turned around my life instantly,
Right.
but it gave me this new tool to be able to use and improve
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Gotcha.
So yeah, like we were leading to after the Pranic Festival,
Mm-hmm,
and you guys left, and it was just super awesome. But we got into that last week, and I was in a relationship. I'm not going to get too much into the detail. I'm not going to share the name or anything, but it was kind of stressful for me. It was really fun, but some of the things that I had worked so hard on, which was my masculinity, coming back from a place of being this little feeling man, the money that I was making, and just who I was at the
mm-hmm,
moment. Like I was very proud of that, and I felt that that was challenged in the relationship, like it was not good enough. So I felt really down about that. I felt very insecure for sure. And at the time, in my head, I'm kind of like mad at that person, and I'm wanting to make myself feel better by telling them that they're wrong, or like I could acknowledge my shortcomings.
mm-hmm.
But for 1 year, how far I came, it was a big deal to me, and I felt like it wasn't appreciated. And that did not last that long. We lasted about a month. But I remember, but now, actually, now I'm very, very grateful that she challenged me in those ways. And if I speak with her or I see her, I'm gonna take her to dinner and thank her, because one of the things was I was doing sales, and I was working for this company, and I was selling these puff bars, the disposable smokes. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I've never have. I've been straight edge since I was like 13. I've taken like 2 or 3 shots on really special occasions, not seeing my dad for 8 years, or I took my mom on a vacation to thank her for taking care of me the entire time I was sick, which I have to give a shout out to my mom, because I just kind of skipped over that. She was literally holding my hand, telling me it was going to be okay while I was lying in bed, like not knowing what to do. So she was the one that took care of me. And I have so much respect and so much love for this woman who has her own pains, who has her own challenges, insecurities, and hardships. And then
Mm-hmm.
she puts them all aside to be there for her kids when they need her. And a massive amount of love to my mom.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So
It's phenomenal.
where was I building to before that?
um,
Yeah. So I was doing the sales for puffs, and I was doing really well with sales. I actually sold candy in high school. I would make like $1,000 a month selling candy. So I had like a natural ability to sell. I worked for a tea shop at Elevate Nutrition. I was a salesman. And I'm not talking about the kind of salesman that's like pressuring people, making them feel uncomfortable. I'm talking about a
Mhm.
guy that just shows up consistently, offers something, and then people buy or they don't buy. But I was really good at it. And she was challenging me, like, sell to me, right? She was like, sell me on these puffs. And then she brought up a reference. She's like, kind of like, sell me this pen, which is a quote from the movie Wolf of Wall Street, right? So we break up. I broke up with her, but it was a mutual thing. Like she thought it was a good idea, and we left on really good terms. I do respect her a lot. But so when I got home, I actually eventually after a month or two, it was in my head like I want to watch that movie. I've seen it before, but I want to watch that. And I watched it, and obviously it's not like I'm trying to live a Wolf of Wall Street lifestyle. But this guy was a good salesman, and that caught my attention. So I watched the movie 3 times, and I found Jordan Belfort. He actually has a YouTube channel, and he has a business sales school. He's the Wolf of Wall Street on YouTube. And I started watching a lot of his content, and it talked about a lot of things that I did not know about. And it's there's something called the triple 10 that he talks about, which is when you have a company that you believe in a 10 out of 10, a product you believe in a 10 out of 10, and a person that you believe a 10 out of 10. And I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that people trust. They trust the product and the company that I work for. And that's what began my journey to trying to find a business that I was eager and hungry to work for.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been using these products called Supercells for about 9 months, and I'd really noticed more of like a stableness. For me, dehydration comes pretty easily because of when you're really stressed out, you're really in fight or flight, your electrolytes tend to get kind of wonky, and it can be easy to get inflammation as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been using these for a while, and I'd really noticed the benefit. And I also had been using Puridyme for a while. They're a really amazing company as well, enzymes and the protein I talked about. But I really felt something special from this company, Supercells. And in my head, I'm like, this would be my dream. This is a 10 out of 10, like the company, the woman who runs it, Selena, and the product. The products are awesome. And it turned out I wasn't even using the products like the right way. So she kind of educated me on how to use them properly. And literally within 2 or 3 days, things that have been bothering me, even if they were subtle for years, are like normalizing.
Wow.
My sleep, I've been using them consistently. I think today's like 16, 17, or 18. My sleep every single day has been better than it was previously.
Wow.
Like it's amazing how much deeper my sleep is. My inflammation levels just feeling lower. It's feeling more stable, clearer head.
AJ, can I note something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I just want to say, I feel like there's definitely not a huge difference, but sort of a difference between AJ and I. AJ is someone who notices every little change, every little issue with his body, and he's able to notice actually what works and what doesn't. For someone like me, like I've actually tried the Restore that he's taking, and I'm like, dude, I haven't noticed.
Yeah,
I haven't noticed anything. I don't know. You know, and
my take on that is, I think that if you're in need of something and it addresses that need, you're going to notice. But if your gut is fine and you feel fine, you probably don't need it. For me, when he recommended that, I had brain fog for about 1.5 years. In 2 weeks of using the Restore, my brain fog has been gone ever since. And I don't take it every day or anything. I'll take it and stop for a couple months, take it again. It's just something like a primer. Right. Nice. But like you said, like for some people, they're not going to notice some of the things that I will notice for sure.
Yeah, but I was going to say, like, I'm really, really impressed with you actually being able to know your body and know how to meet your body's needs.
Sure. So. Yeah, I appreciate that. Dr. Doug Lyle will call it hyper conscientiousness. I cannot help but pay attention to every detail of what's going on.
That's great. Yes. So you were talking about Supercells and your sleep's been functioning better.
Yeah. So I've been using this. I started a little coaching support group where we're implementing a new habit every week for 10 weeks, either leaving ones that aren't serving us behind or just building upon the ones we did the week before. I started my foundation with Supercells. I'm like, I'm going to use them. I'm going to use them the right way. And I couldn't be happier with it. I reached out to Selena and I wanted to be able to not only be an affiliate, but really be able to work with this company. And actually, she has been unbelievably supportive of me, of this podcast, of me being a part of the Supercells, sharing it and everything. She's been unbelievably kind. She's conscientious and has more integrity than most people that I interact with. So I do want to give her a little bit of love and stuff because I just feel so welcomed. And there's nothing that feels better than wanting some acknowledgement from the people you really respect.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be consistently be using supercells and recommending to people without feeling guilty, because it's just like if I recommended going out and getting some fresh air. That's how I see it. These things are just so awesome that I have no qualm about having people to buy them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
invest in your health. It's worth it. If you don't need it, then awesome. You don't need it.
Yeah,
If
for
you
sure.
don't ever feel like I'm pressuring you, but I do just want to acknowledge, like, hey, these were really helpful for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it'd be good just for even just to see how it works for someone else. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll change their life.
For sure.
So,
And I've talked to people that have used them and they're seeing pretty awesome results almost immediately.
nice.
Literally, this stuff works pretty fast.
Awesome.
So yeah, the supercells has been super amazing and supportive. We have the coaching that's really getting started there. I'm actually happy to be a part of DTM support group. I run his WhatsApp Patreon support group, which is like 90 members, where it's all very supportive of people both who are just looking to feel better, or they're going through some stuff, or they have something to share. It's a very awesome environment there. I just joined the Raw Vegan Heroes support group. I'm involved in like 10 support groups, and I just want to be there and give as much back as I can.
Awesome.
MP and I finally launched the podcast, as you guys can see. So that's one of the big newses. And I'm actually, a huge thing that not everybody knows is May 17th, I'm moving out of New Jersey. And I'm going to and staying in Tennessee for a week or maybe a couple weeks, but I'm moving to Naples, Florida. Naples, Florida is considered a blue zone, which is an area in the world where people tend to live longer because it's easier to make healthier decisions, and the environment's cleaner, and there's the ocean, and just things are a little more laid back. But that's a really big step for me, because I've always been in New Jersey. Yes, I moved around a bit, but it was never really sustained. And I'm looking forward to filming this podcast from 10 minutes from the beach. Sure.
No, I won't be jealous, because jealousy is sin.
Visit me.
But I'm gonna be jealous.
Envious.
Yeah, AJ, that's awesome. I'm really excited for you. I'm really excited to see what the next couple of months and years have to offer you. And I know you're gonna do great things. And I know your coaching program is gonna be super, super helpful, and it's gonna be of service to a lot of people. So I want to give you a lot of credit for putting the time in that you have to really learn how to be a good coach and to learn how to grow your business. So big ups to you, and a lot of respect.
Yeah, MP, I really appreciate that. I'm actually just going to do a little bit of a closing outro now to wrap this up. But some things I just wanted to say is, if you have a problem and you feel like you can't solve it yourself, there's probably somebody out there who can help you to solve that problem. They've either done it before, or they've done it for other people before, whether that be, if it's something medical, a really good physician. I do want to encourage people to utilize all the tools we have in this modern time. It's not like I only want to be in the jungle, or heal via the sun. I think that those things are amazing, being in nature and fresh air and the sun, but we got to really utilize these tools, and we really got to uplift each other and support each other through hard times, because people aren't making decisions necessarily because they're bad people. They're doing it because they feel at the time they need to, or it's what's right, even if it's really not what's right. I think that for me, a huge thing is having support. So being part of a support group. I also have coaches, DTM, Lou Corona, Tavis Bradley, MP. Like, it doesn't have to be someone
Doug
who's
Lyle,
quote unquote famous. Yeah, Doug Lyle. People that have actually really helped me in particular overcome some kind of challenge. So I want to encourage everyone out there. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be the people that I mentioned. But if you feel like you could use some more direction, you could use some guidance, or like I said, support, reach out, find a coach, find a support group, find a physician, find a therapist, find someone to hold you more accountable, to help you feel motivated. Here's the thing too. People are really worried, like, I don't have an extra $100 to spend. And what I say to people is, if you lost $100, your life would not change at all. But if you invested $100, it could change your life forever. And I'm not talking just Bitcoin. I'm talking about someone who can really put you on the right trajectory and living a better life.
For sure.
Whether that's drinking more green juice, which is what I recommend. I recommend supercells. I recommend going to bed early. These things are not, out there claims.
Right.
They're just regular things that you can do. Drink water. Tons of people don't drink water. And I would say just find some accountability unless you don't feel as though you need it.
Awesome.
So where I'm at right now is I still have lots of room to improve. I still am eager to become the best, the number one supercells salesman, because sales is in my cells. That's my little catchphrase. And, I'm looking forward to being in a new environment full of amazing people, building new relationships. I'm looking forward to this podcast really being so beneficial, not only to myself, but hopefully a lot of you guys out there. So let us know what you think of the podcast. Let us know if there's something that really hit hard with you that you really liked, or some things that we can improve on as well. I'm open to criticism. Let's just keep it respectful, everybody. I'm pretty sensitive. But MP, I want to thank you for helping make this interview happen. All day, my nerves were kind of all over the place. And I think it actually went really well.
Yeah. AJ, I think you did awesome. You did a great job explaining your story and telling how you got here right now. So I give you a lot of credit for that. I wanted to give a little closing here, a little recap of AJ's story. AJ was a young kid, and it's crazy how much food he was able to eating all these calories.
He was a hungry kid.
Yeah. Like actually hungry. And got to high school, and he was projected to be one of the best cross country track and field athletes in his program. And his nerves and anxiety really, really got to him. He wasn't able to really function as best as he needed to come race time. And then over the next couple of years, he got into a relationship, and that broke him down a little bit once his relationship ended. And he's seen some other health issues, some other very degenerative health issues over the time. And AJ has really been able to regain his health and get his life back on track with green juice, with minerals, with enzymes, with salads, with probiotics. And a lot of people always tend to, well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. I'm actually going to be directing this more towards like the raw vegan community and even vegan community. I feel like everyone always wants to go to the fruit, fruit's the answer, juicing's the answer, fruit juice. But AJ has done that differently, and he's taken a different path, and he's really found a way to nourish his body and meet his body's needs. So I give AJ a lot of credit for that, for being able to go from doctor to doctor, even though he didn't find any answers, and actually being able to find people himself and do the work himself to get to where he needs to be. So I give AJ a lot of credit to that. And AJ, thank you so much for sharing your story. Do you have any final comments you want to say before we close it out here?
Yeah, I just want to say that I may have made a lot of decisions that did not lead me down the right way. And I made, a lot of people upset, or I let a lot of people down. And I do want to apologize for doing that. I do want to say that even though I had good intentions, I know those intentions don't necessarily make up for the fact that I fucked up a lot of stuff. And I really am happy and eager to do what I can to try to make it up to the individuals that are still a part of my life, as well as going forward. I want to say that I honestly feel as though I'm one of the most passionate people that I know. And I want to help bring that awareness and passion, not only to Living Foods and communities like Woodstock Fruit Festival and DTM and all these different groups, but just to the individuals that feel completely alone, completely overwhelmed, that don't know what to do, that feel sad, that feel unhealthy, and they just need a little bit of support. I want to let you know that I am here and willing to be the shoulder to lean on for anyone that feels that way, because I know the worst thing is when you feel that way, to just have no one to be able to talk to. So that's it in closing. MP, take it from there.
Awesome, AJ. That was very, very powerful. So AJ, thank you once again for sharing your story. I'm sure we could probably even double the time here, and you could even talk more and more about your story. So we definitely
I'm
gotta
already 20 minutes late to work.
Definitely gotta keep the time limit. So thank you. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. That was episode 2 of the Hungry People podcast. If you got to this point in our podcast, we are very, very appreciative of you taking the time to listen. And once again, give us any feedback, any comments, any criticism, and we would love to hear from you. Thank you once again, everybody. And we hope you enjoy your day.
Stay hungry.
Stay hungry, stay up, stay great, and always keep it 100. Have a good one.